And welcome to the Gaming Hall of Rivalries. I'm your host, Jeremy Evans, and my other host, Mr. Curtis Scism.
Yes, Scism.
Thank you. I always get your name messed up every single time. Like, I have to practice. in the mirror and like, Scism. I know a lot of people say the other name wrong, like Schism. It's like, no, it's not Schism.
Or Schism.
Schism. That's a new one. I haven't heard that one. Anyways, so welcome to the Gaming Hall of Rivalries. And our goal of our show is to go through gaming characters that rival each other in our gaming culture. And not so much of who will win in a fight or who is better. It's more of how they influence our gaming culture and in the industry of gaming. And just to see what happened between these characters and where they're at now. So, for instance, we could say like Princess Peach and Zelda. Those are characters that at the time were the biggest, still probably now, the most popular princess in gaming. But why? Let's find out. Let's break that down and see what makes them both stand out in their own way. And then at the end, we will talk about, in our opinion, in our choice, who we think we enjoy more. Just as our gamers ourselves, how much they influence us. So, Curtis, what are our two characters today?
Today we're going to go over Mario and Sonic the Hedgehog.
They're probably the two biggest icons in the 90s.
Definitely the faces of their respective companies at that time. At that time and to today.
Mm-hmm, because they rival each other as Nintendo and Sega, right?
Yes.
And it's funny, too, because Sega, I think to this day, still are kind of like the underdog. With some missteps, but they're still kind of like the underdog, and they're still trying to like come into the light and like,
definitely
please notice us.
Their way back up to the prominence.
Mm-hmm. But Nintendo's still doing strong as we speak right now, and Mario's still like their flagship. So we're gonna go into first off, it's Mario, and we're gonna talk about some things about Mario and what's he known for and what has he done for us. So, Curtis, take it away for us.
Well, Mario first appeared in 1981. He wasn't always known as Mario. He was known as Jumpman. Mm-hmm. And that title was Donkey Kong. In that game, he was started out as a carpenter, not a plumber, trying to rescue his then-girlfriend at the time, Pauline.
So, I never knew his name was Mario when I first played that game. Did you know his name?
No, I did not.
Okay, well, sorry, Jumpman, but we didn't know he was going to be turned into Mario.
No.
And so, Donkey Kong was always a game that was always been difficult for me because like the barrels were the biggest issue.
Trying to kill you,
right?
This little guy jumping over stuff, and
and then you have Pauline, the woman that was the love interest in all of this, and like you see Pauline later on in the gaming industry, but it's interesting that like they took that character that was a nobody and made him something on his adventure. Do you remember playing the arcade, or did you just play on the console?
I played on the console.
Okay. All right. So what's next on the list, bud?
Well, Mario would appear in 1985, 4 years later, as the flagship title for the Nintendo's first Nintendo system. And to think about it, he's been around for 32 years, guys. Whew. That's over 200 game appearances, not only in his main games, but spin-offs, other series, the Super Mario franchise, Paper Mario, Smash Brothers.
Anything in Nintendo, he's in there somehow. Either he's like an item or like just coming by, anything. I mean, even like the sports games, like tennis. Like Mario was the judge. Punch Out,
he was a judge.
He was a referee. It's like it's just so funny. Like they just implement Mario in everything.
Absolutely.
So
he's definitely been the face of Nintendo for 30 plus years, and oddly enough, too, when the Olympics was announced to be in Japan, the next Summer Games, they had a short bit with Shinzo Abe, the Prime Minister of Japan. He's late to getting to the Olympics in the current year, and he takes a Mario warp tunnel.
Yeah, right.
Do you remember that?
Yep. Because that was their great announcement. Like, we're next on the list.
We're next, and that's your face not only of the company, but that's what your country almost got put on the map in that tech industry for.
Right. Exactly. So, what has Mario, the video game itself, the first game? How was your influence to you on that?
It just did what games at that time for what I had played was Pong and Frogger at that time. Pac-Man. I did not have... That was the first 2D sprite that's actually running at a pretty fast pace at the time. I mean, you have to go back to 1985. You did not have characters that moved like Mario did.
Right.
Or Jump. You didn't have all these moving sprites of enemies doing these complex animations. You take the Koopa shell, that thing is fast back then.
Right. Especially like you didn't know that like you can kick it after hitting it.
No.
Because it was weird because like I remember playing that game for the first time and Goombas were the weirdest things because you never know when those creatures come like what you're supposed to do the first thing you do, and then when you kick a turtle, I mean hit the turtle, you hit the turtle again, and it kicks off. Like I died the first time a turtle hit me, but like it's interesting that Mario has a lot of enemies in those video games. So
the other just small innovation at that point too, and definitely the limits of the systems before Nintendo, was when you kicked a Koopa shell, if there's a pipe though, right, it's gonna come back. Older titles that predated that, it would disappear because of the programming.
So let's go a little bit into Mario real quick. So the game itself. So like it had 8 worlds.
Yes.
And each world was really different. So like the ones that highlight to me, I remember was the 4th world where it was the first time was no, it's not the 4th. It was the 3rd one. It was nighttime. That was weird.
See, I thought you were gonna say underwater.
What world was that? Because I thought that split in but certain ones, like in the odd ones. I thought I think no, I'm wrong. I think it was it 4 and 5 that had underwater levels. I want to say I could be wrong.
I think it was.
It's been so long I play Mario.
I can't remember, but just it kept throwing punches at you. It kept throwing surprises at you too. I mean, the first level is just a great tutorial of what to expect, and then next thing you know, you come out of this pipe and you're swimming around and you're having to constantly hit that button. Completely changes the game on you.
And that's the weird part about it was like pipes. Pipes was a really big influence in that Mario game because like that was your transportation to go to the next level or whatever. Like if you play Mario, of course you have, is that you can actually get to the end real quick.
Yes.
By through the pipes. That's why it was a big influence thing. But I mean, you dealt with a night world, I think world 3 and 6, and then the 4th world was the very most fast game because that's the first time you saw a Lakaku. And I'm sorry if I'm saying the name wrong, but those are the creatures that just drop things at you.
Yes.
I hate that thing. I hate that thing with a passion.
Oh, and it stalks you the whole level.
Right. And then I remember in world 8, that was the toughest one because like it felt like the first level, except they just have the biggest gap. So you have to do the biggest jump of hope that you make it to the other side. You remember those?
Yes.
And then of course it was the castles. The castles were the most complicated ones because each castle kept building up like a maze.
Yes.
I remember, I think it was World 6 or World 7 where you have to take a certain you have 3 ways to go in. You have to go take a certain path and there's a certain code. If you mess up, it just resets itself and you have to keep going on that. And then I love the fact that they give you options how you want to fight Koopa. So like you either, hit the latch behind them, or if you have a firepower, you can just, shoot your way through and all that stuff. So
and definitely, Mario gets a lot of criticism of Peach gets kidnapped, you gotta go rescue her. When you really go through with chopsticks and a fine-tooth comb, each title adds on a whole new innovation. Let's skip Mario 2 because that was a completely Doki Doki Paddock reskinned as Mario. Let's skip to Mario 3.
It's a dream anyways. It doesn't exist.
Let's skip to Mario 3. The first time you get the raccoon, the Tanuki tail, you're able to fly.
Right. That was the first time you got to fly, and that opened up also to like different costumes. That's basically the game that put on costumes.
And when you think about Mario 1, there's obviously a ceiling. There's only so high they could. You're taking off. You're going up twice that height.
And then if you kind of notice, I don't know if you noticed this, Curse, but like I was reading an article a while back that Mario 3 really feels like a play.
Yes.
With the curtains and everything. That's why like it feels like you have all these costumes. But even at the end where, you're going to a black screen, looks like you just finished doing a performance for people, and you do your thing where you either get, flower, mushroom, whatever. But at the end, the curtain comes down and you go to the next one. I never really noticed that until now.
Until later on.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think Paper Mario was the reason that kind of brought me back to that idea, because Paper Mario really pushed the whole like kind of performance like that. And so, and then that rolled into, and we're not going to go through every Mario game, so don't worry about that. But that goes into Mario World.
Super Mario World that added the spin jump, added your partner Yoshi,
and got away from separating the worlds and making the world one giant world, right?
Yes.
So you never had to like load into the next screen. You just continue your path around this whole island. And so,
this was like definitely before load screens was ever a thing. I mean, you turned on the game, there was no data, there's no installing, it was all there.
Right. So what is your favorite Mario game out of all the games, just out of curiosity?
My favorite Mario game, I'm gonna be a little biased to the Super Mario Galaxy series. Super Mario World is up there.
Okay, Mario was number 1 on my list. So yeah.
See, definitely mine. The further on Mario gets, the more kind of lasting impression. I'm sure if I played Odyssey today, that would be dethroning everything right now. That would kind of shake up my list of Mario games.
Okay. So what else is on your list, bud?
Well, besides, even we've been talking about Super Mario World this whole time. We have to remember too that there was the Dr. Mario series.
Yes, Dr. Mario. Yeah. Dr. Mario, for people that don't know, is the game where I feel like it tried to compete against Tetris.
It tried to be Tetris, yeah.
Yeah, and you, instead of like doing shapes, you deal with pills, and your goal is to get rid of virus.
Wasn't Dr. Mario a part of the Smash Brothers? Was it Melee?
His first premiere was Melee. Yep, it was a costume. You're right. Well, not a costume. It was a character.
It was an actual character.
Yeah.
He threw his pills. That was one of his attacks.
Yeah, it basically like any power that the regular Mario had, it got replaced with what Dr. Mario was. Like fireballs. Here's a subscription source of pills. Deal with it. But it's funny because those pills, I don't think really did anything. They push you back, but like I wish they did more stuff. But that's just another thing.
Like slow them down or something.
So, what's your favorite series that is not Mario? Like, what is your favorite series?
My favorite Mario game outside of the Super Mario World franchise would be the Smash Brothers.
Okay. And so, why is that?
Just the character variety. I mean, it is a giant cluster of four controllable players trying to knock each other out. The other one too, Mario Kart.
Mario Kart's probably up there as one of my favorites, only because you just never thought that Mario would ever take that direction of a kart racing game, and it sounds kind of weird at the time. Now, actually thinking about it right now, it's kind of weird, but like back in the day, it was a game we just accepted and we just played, right?
Yes.
And we went through all the games, all the worlds that the game provided.
Well, let's just look at his occupations. I mean, he's been a carpenter. You said he's been a referee. He's been a plumber. He's a doctor. He's also played soccer, tennis, and party games.
And they now, to this day, they just made an announcement that Mario's no longer a plumber. He's just a guy that...
He's just a guy.
He's just a guy that can do everything now. So I thought it was pretty funny because, like, Mario, in my experience, I never seen him done a plumbing job in his life. If you want to count the movie, the live action movie, everybody remember the live action movie. But yeah, I just never saw him plumbing. Like we see him go down pipes, we seen people throw wrenches at him, but we never actually see him like actually do a day's worth or a shift. So, and then of course, we can't forget his brother Curtis, the old good Luigi. Are you a Luigi fan? You like Luigi?
I like the Luigi's Mansion series.
Okay. Yeah, the guy that was, the shadow of Mario.
And what's really sad is when you go back to the Super Nintendo, his first solo title, Mario's Missing. It's an educational
I remember
learning
that
game.
Yeah.
You just get you shaft Luigi.
It's so terrible. I don't know what they were thinking when they made that game. And then you had Mario Time Machine. I think it was where we learned about history and the time. That was a weird one. I remember when I first got the game, I was like, "Oh, this is all Mario's gonna go different times. We're gonna do platforming." Nope. Like I gotta do homework. This is weird. I don't want to do that.
Mario Paint too. I mean,
Mario Paint was cool.
Mario Paint was fun
because, like, to this day, people still make beats like music off of Mario Paint.
Yeah, on YouTube, people make arrangements of songs on using Mario Paint.
And then like I love the Fly game. I don't know, remember the Fly game, but
I do not remember.
Yeah, they're like 3 rounds. No, it's like 4 rounds, and like you just hit the fly that just goes around. It's just a fun little mini game. And actually, if you play Mario Maker, it's they have a little inside joke where you had a fly that magically comes in or something like that. And speaking of that, can we go in about like the biggest influence that he done for gaming? Like to you, what's the biggest influence you think he did for gaming?
I definitely think Mario acts as a great. Whenever you have a new system come out, especially a Nintendo system, that's kind of your launch title. That's almost, not to sound condescending, but a very glorified tech demo of here's the new mechanics. Here's what the 3DS does with the touch screen. Here's what you can do with Mario. Here's the Paper Mario series, the sticker game.
Yeah,
but that utilized the touch screen. The 3DS Super Mario 3D Land showed off the 3D capability of the 3DS.
But what do you think for other gamings? Like, what do you think in other gamings that Mario have influence? I think Mario's now has been and always been the handbook of this is how you do a platforming game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, because like I play a lot of platforming games. We're talking about like Shovel Knight, where like, you know, this is how you design a stage where it's easy for a player to get through, but also challenging at the same time.
Yes.
And Mario Maker is a great example of that because people finally get their hands on it and kind of understand where
design, level
yeah,
design.
exactly. And so, and even I even consider in the 3D realms, like Mario 64, I think still people use that as the influence of, you know, how do you make a world.
Yes.
and or playground for people, and how you deal with that. I honestly, maybe I could be 100% wrong, but I think they also influence in the hardcore kind of games like, you know, Grand Theft Auto, you know, all those kind of games of how building a world and how a person interacts with that world.
It is definitely, I would say it is definitely somewhere in some developers' mind, it is the foundation, the bedrock foundation of level design, of what your level needs to do, what it needs to accomplish.
Right. And so I want to know, what is, like, to you personally, what Mario have done for you? What's Mario done for you personally? What's
really cool is just to have a piece of medium that has grown up, that you've grown up with. Outside of video games too, I'll use The Simpsons as an example for some children. Super Mario would definitely be for me growing up. I don't play as many Mario games now. I'm not rushing out to buy the newest ones right now, but always in the, you know, deep down in my heart, like that's where it all started.
Right.
And that appreciation. You definitely look at, you know, even you brought up, level design in the modern day. If you look at some of the run and gun levels of Cuphead, that level design, that platformy feel, is definitely heavily inspired. And
right.
Jokingly, you know, one of the levels on Cuphead has a almost note for note arrangement of the Super Mario Athletic theme.
Yes.
Definitely a tongue-in-cheek joke of the acrobatics you have to do on that level. Definitely a nod of the hat to Mario. I mean, absolutely.
Mario have influenced me where I have probably never played a really bad Mario game. Maybe it's never been my cup of tea, but I never had a bad Mario game. And so far to this day, I still have never had a bad Mario game. But one of the things that influenced me, I have to say, is Mario shows you in his games that they can always come with a fresh new idea.
Yes.
Like, it's never like the last game. It might influence a little bit, like compared to Mario 3 to Mario World, but Mario World feels completely different to Mario 3. And what I like about it is they take some ideas from the last one, they carry it over, and then they just play with something else with it. You can, like I said, Mario 3 to Mario World, and then Mario World to in 64. I can see that huge I can see what they brought over.
That is a whole mile of
and
improvement.
So, yeah, and then we even see it from Mario to taking it to the Galaxy. Yes. Totally different playing field of Mario 64, except now we're going to give you this whole universe to play with.
Galaxy was definitely a very souped up version of 64, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And Mario's also a game where you can lose yourself into that world.
Yes.
Especially in Galaxy and Mario 64. You know, even through like if you're going upset or you through depression, like Mario's always been that world where I can just jump in, and you could tell by from Mario 64 by jumping in a different frame, like different picture frames, and just merge yourself into that world a little bit. And so and Mario Odyssey is that game is really interesting because it's doing it again. It's a game that's going to bring you back into those worlds that you lose yourself in.
I was watching a YouTube video with my son, and it's in the city where Pauline's performing a concert, and Mario's always respected its past and its origins. It's always definitely, there's a really awesome section where it goes from the 3D world to the 2D, and it even recreates the Donkey Kong stage.
Right. It feels like
in the modern day, and it looks absolutely gorgeous.
It feels like that it is all the games that you remember all rolled up in one in this Odyssey game. And I think that's what their idea was for Mario Odyssey. And it's funny too because looking at Mario Odyssey is a game where for the first time we actually see him with his people. We forget Mario is a human.
Yes.
So this is the first time we actually see Mario like talk to humans
in the city.
Yeah. And I think it's funny because like people freak out. They're like, oh, he's around real people. I'm like, well, he is a human. It's just we're so used to him in a fantasy world. We don't even know how he got there. To this day, we don't even know how he got there. But it's so interesting that the studio is taking chances of putting Mario into new environments, and that's what he is. He is that experimental character. Like, here's an idea, but we need something that we know that people can trust this idea with us. And Mario's always been that flagship. Yes. Without Mario, kart would never work out for people. I think if they put a kart game on Mario, it probably wouldn't do well. But Mario was that flagship. We're like, okay, we trust it because Mario's on it, and that's what it is. Mario's a guaranteed right now as a game. That's crazy, isn't it? Never like had any slips or anything. Mario's always been that person. Is like, you're guaranteed a good game when Mario's on the front of the cover. That's crazy, right? So, man. But let's take a break.
All right.
And then when we get back, we're going to get into the next big icon in the 90s that took a chance on rivaling Mario, and that's Sonic the Hedgehog. We'll be right back. Hi, and thank you for listening to the podcast as part of the In-Game Boss program, a network of gaming and other variety podcasts, gaming podcast shows like the In-Game Boss, Gaming Halls of Rivalries, and of course, the Gamerstand podcast. Other variety podcasts, we have Bond Never Dies, Come Meet, and Be Mindful of Jeremy Evans. And if you have any other questions, please email us at ingameoffice@gmail.com. And thank you so much. And welcome back to the Gaming Hall of Rivalries. I'm your host, Jeremy, with my other host, Curtis. And just to let you guys know about the backstory of this show, this show is actually a spinoff of my other podcast, gaming show called the Gamerstand Podcast, where our goal is to just push the gaming culture down your throat and build a bigger community in Oklahoma and slowly, connect the world together of gaming. We're both gamers. We love gaming. We've been gaming ever since we were little. We actually went to high school together, Edmond Memorial High School. It's funny too because I could say middle school too. Did you go to Cimarron?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did go to Cimarron. The funny part about you and me is that we've been friends through gaming, but we never had a class together. We always knew each other through groups.
Yeah, we had we had Spanish 1 together.
Did we have Spanish 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Back in middle school.
Okay.
And we played on basketball with each other too.
That's right. Basketball was a big thing for us.
Back in middle school.
Yeah, but even through high school, I don't remember having any classes with you.
No, but you know what's so funny is I would gravitate towards your group during assemblies and stuff.
Right.
There was always that connection of hey, you like that stuff? I do too.
Right, because even people that been on the show, The Gamer Stand, or even projects, we all got connected through or gaming. And we just talked about Mario. Mario was a big influence. I think Mario would have been a topic that we did talk about. So let's get into our second half where we talk about a character that rivaled Mario. and he's blue and he's fast, and his name is Sonic the Hedgehog, a character that was from 1992 on the Sega Genesis. Now, the funny thing about that is Sega actually had a mascot before that, and he was called Alex Kidd.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he was the main mascot for its Sega Master System, not Sega Genesis for people. And I think a lot of people don't remember Sega Master System because it wasn't a console that was like commercialized that much. It was a Sega Genesis that was more commercialized because Sonic was that flagship. So at the time, Mario was getting big, and they needed a character to rival that because they were just going to probably be under the radar again. So Sonic, they created, and they gone through a lot of prototypes. Like Sonic was designed as an armadillo, ended up being Mighty the armadillo later on in the Sonic series. He was a dog. He was, they actually had him as Theodore Roosevelt look-alike, ended up being Dr. Eggman. And then also a rabbit. So the funny part is they decided to go with a hedgehog, I guess, because it kind of throw down like the spikiness and the throw down like
edginess.
Edginess, bad boyish. And they made them blue based off their logo, Sega, right? And so, but the funny part about that is Sonic was known as Mr. Needle Mouse as the name before Sonic. I don't know how Needle Mouse got in all this, but it's funny too because later on in the Sonic series, when they decided to do Sonic 4, I think there was a production team called the Needle Mouse Productions. I think that's where they got that from. But his shoes. Now a lot of people know Sonic is the shoes because the shoes or what is speed. You know what I mean? So actually, it's funny because his shoes were inspired by Michael Jackson.
Really?
Yeah, they were inspired by Michael Jackson, but the red part was inspired by Santa Claus.
Okay.
And then his edginess and all that stuff, his color contrast actually was off of Michael Jackson's Bad album. So the name Bad itself in red, that's also the contrast. So Michael Jackson's Santa Claus and his album cover Bad was a big influence of his shoes. And his personality was inspired by Bill Clinton, the whole get it done attitude. So like the way I look at this, Sonic was meant to be an Americanized cartoon gaming character. He was, because like there was nothing in there that was Japanese about him. They basically wanted something to hit the Western Europe and America of a character that people can relate.
He was definitely the contrast to Mario, the one-to-one contrast.
Right.
Mario's this fat Italian plumber and old and boring just by appearance. He's not, but you aesthetically, first glance, you just look at that. Then you look at Sonic the Hedgehog, like he has spiky hair, he has these cool tennis shoes.
He was supposed to be the cool kid.
He is definitely a product of the 90s, some 90s marketing team. I mean,
right.
Absolutely.
So, like I said, he's just trying to be the cool kid on the block. Like, and I feel like that influenced me a little bit because, in your group, you always have this person in your group that you think is the cool kid as the group. It
was definitely the marketing of move over, it's our turn. Like,
yes. Yeah, so like playing the Sonic games, the one thing that stand out to me was, of course, the speed. And like, it is a platforming game. And in its own way, they done a lot of different ways to do their platforming. But one of the things was how fast you can get through the stage.
Yes.
It was insane. And how like you can keep going without really stopping. That was an insane part about it.
If you go on YouTube and look at the old Sega commercials, one of their slogans, catch lines was, Sega does what Nintendo don't. Right.
And what they mean by that is Sega will be the ones to take the risks that Nintendo won't take the risks about it. Like Sega was the people that kind of went more into the violent world.
Not to go too far off topic, but when you look at the original Genesis, the Sega Genesis, it had 16-bit like right across there.
Right.
Like it was very proud of that feat.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that in the old school one, Master System was like, you had a little volume switch. It always tried to be the ones that try to one up Nintendo in the best way. And they did, and it worked out for them at that time because they had to take the bigger step. If they try to be like Nintendo, they'd be a clone and no one would really get it. They had to be the ones that like, we have to be the people that think we're cooler than them. Mm-hmm. And that's why Sonic was that flagship for that. And so, the first Sonic game I ever actually played was Sonic 2. I think a lot of people did because Sonic 2 was a bundle for every Sega console. It actually came with it. Nintendo didn't really have games going with it. So Sega was like, we're going to throw Sonic 2 with it. We want people to love Sonic 2. And I remember playing Sonic 2. I remember Tails being with it. But like one of my favorite moments was the loop. It was just amazing. Like I just went through a loop. And then the spiral tracks that changes in there. And then the fact that like you're talking about now when it comes to Mario was based off of different worlds and in different environments. Sonic was based off every level was a different environment.
Yes.
Like one moment you're out in this open, beautiful, tropical level.
Green Hill Zone.
Yeah, and then the next thing you're in a chemical plant.
Yes.
Next moment you're in a ruin. Next moment you're in a cave.
You're
next
in Vegas.
You're in Vegas.
Casino, yeah.
And that's what made it so fascinating. I think Mario also helped influence Sonic.
The worlds, yeah.
Yeah, because of like, yeah, you do your platforming based on the world you created. We're going to do ours as different chapters. So like each level is just totally different. And that's what made it so interesting. And it makes me play it over and over again because I want to get back to that particular world. Yeah. Like Casino Night was probably one of the coolest levels because like they really use Sonic in a good way. Like Sonic can turn into a ball, right?
Yes.
And he could do a speedball and just zoom. So using him as like a slot machine, as a coin, or
as a pinball.
Oh, as a pinball is just like ingenious. So they really took advantage of that. So what games did you enjoy Sonic in?
I really like the first Sonic game because it definitely was when you first play Green Hill, you just want a free run.
Mm-hmm.
There's enemies, there's obstacles, but man, can you just zoom by them without even looking twice?
And one of the things I also noticed about Sonic was he was the first character I ever played that got impatient if you didn't do anything, right?
Yes.
So like if you sit still, he would actually
like
literally
tap his feet.
Yeah, he would just literally look at you and just like, we're playing the game, right? Like he knows it. It felt like Mario.
He'd look up and down at the sky.
All right, like Sonic knows he's in a game and he knows like you're controlling me, but I can't move until you do. So can we move along? Can we go? And like even Tails will sit in the background. He'll like yawn. He's just tired. I think later on Sonic just lays on the ground, with just like his hand up and just like, I'm like, I'm gonna fall asleep if we don't hurry up and do something. So that was a really fun things about Sonic. And then on top of that, it was the boss fights. I think the boss fights were very influenced to Mario. Now, I know that sounds weird, but I think Mario always stayed the tradition way of just hop on, the characters three times, then they're done. But Sonic was more of, you do more of the hitting, but the boss fights were always different because Dr. Robotnik, the rival of Sonic, always come with different contraptions.
Yes.
And Bowser was always the one that kept
the level
doing
would
the same
change
thing.
too. You'd have dropping platforms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and each Sonic game was completely different in the design. I remember from Sonic 3 to Sonic and Knuckles how they took a chance on making Sonic and Knuckles a cartridge where you could insert Sonic 2 or Sonic 3 and have Knuckles, one of his other rivals, play the old school games. Like Knuckles is in Sonic 2. It's like Knuckles never been in Sonic 2, but they made it happen.
Yeah.
And then when you play Sonic 3 with Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 3 just merges right into the Sonic and Knuckles games as you can continue on. One of the influence to me personally about Sonic was he was a character that I rooted for a lot in that game because he was a character that I always wanted him to succeed. And you can see through the journey, like, Sonic's gone through some stuff. Like, I want him to win. And, like, you realize that the world, the island, there's so much stuff on that island going through these levels. Like, how did an island have a casino in here? I don't understand that. Or have a tall hill or a cave or oil field or a underwater hydro palace. All this stuff, collecting Chaos Emeralds to help save a planet. And rescuing these little creatures that you didn't know you were aware of until you go back and play it. That every time you pop an enemy, a little creature is freed. Mario never really had people to free. Yeah. Sonic was always been that person. I'm gonna help the little people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's kind of weird.
Well, every time Mario freed, he was hoping Peach was in the castle.
Right, right. And so, and then later on down the line with Sonic, we see him slowly get into the 3D realm. After Sonic CD, which Sonic CD is probably one of the best Sonic games of all time, but we see him go into the 3D world, and what I notice about that is we see Sonic always trying to be so cool that they try to get him to transition to the next generation.
To the next gen, yeah.
That's why his artwork always changes, because he's always trying to be the cool guy of that generation. So like from Sonic 1, you know, he had a fat belly.
Yes.
And then we see from Sonic 2 and Sonic 3, he's leaner and leaner. And then we see now in the 3D realms of him, Sonic, kind of more of like the slick kind of pose. Look at me, I'm that cool guy. Sonic Adventures is a great example of that when we first saw him, because Sonic talked for the first time. They try to give him a cool voice. Because even from the cartoons, he was always trying to be had the cool voice, like, yeah, I'm badass, you know, all this stuff. And so, you were gonna say?
I was gonna say that the irony of having Jaleel White voice Sonic in the cartoon.
For people that don't know, he played Urkel off of Family Matter.
Yes.
And so, and then that changes later on, because I heard they were supposed to do a live action Sonic in the future, and I heard he might do the voice for that.
Oh, so that would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be really cool of him. But the 3D World games were interesting in a way where they still haven't got the chemistry of how fast you can be in a 3D world, because it's easy in 2D because you're just going straight. Here you have options to go, you know, in a full circle, but it's still hard to control him a little bit. Just the
pitfalls of transitioning the level design, the aesthetic from the 2D. You want to keep all that stuff, but transferring it to a 3D world with the loops. Mm-hmm. I hate to bring it up, but you have to look at Sonic 06.
Mm-hmm.
That was glitchy, but they had moments of, you definitely saw what they were trying to do, but it's just, oh goodness.
And the thing too was what Sonic was trying to do is, Sonic was also a character that we've seen that anytime I rescue somebody important, you have to come with me on this next voyage. We've seen this to now, where Sonic still has Tails, Amy, Knuckles, other characters that he rescues to join him on this saga. So Sonic's never really by himself in these gamings anymore. Yes. It's either you're playing with other characters that are optional to play with, right? And so where we're at right now with Sonic is quite interesting, because we still see Sonic still trying to be the cool guy, and now it's at a point where it feels like that they're trying to make Sonic try too hard to be cool, instead of just him being cool.
Yes.
And so, what has Sonic influenced you?
Definitely, as older now, Sonic's very admirable. I mean, you're trying, Sega at the time, trying to come into the industry and compete with Nintendo. Very bold. Mm-hmm. Very bold. That's like some upstart trying to, I'm going to surpass Disney. Like, right. And, you know, it's very admirable. There's been some hiccups. There's been some titles that I have not cared for. But, you know, just that idea of in mind, like, we're going to compete with that plumber.
Right. I think what Sonic influenced me was he was a character that's never gave up. He's always been that competitor.
And I loved his intro. You know, when... I'm not sure how big of a deal it was for you, but seeing him in the Smash Brothers game, that was cool.
It was interesting when they first actually merged, because we never thought, like, Sonic and Mario in the same game? That's weird.
Back in Brawl, and that was just so surreal seeing them together. And then the Olympic Games, the Olympic series, so cool seeing Sonic still trying to...
And that's another thing too. Sonic has tried to compete in those other fields too. You know, he had his own racing games that were actually, I heard they were actually pretty decent. Yeah, he actually did a Mario Party style game called Sonic Shuffle on the Dreamcast. So Sonic has tried to dip into the sports realm, just like, you know, Mario. And Sega was using him as experimental for other games too. Like Sonic, make a pinball game called Sonic Spinball. That was really easy. Actually, I would love a new Sonic Spinball to this day. That'd be kind of a cool kind of idea game. But what Sonic has done for the influence of the gaming culture and the industry right now, to me, is the challenging of doing a platforming game. Yes. Now Mario has some challenging stuff, but they make it where Mario, they don't make it impossible. No. Sonic, I think they try to make it where we want to make it really challenging, but we want you to try to figure it out at the same time. And that's what I noticed about playing the Sonic games was, yeah, we give you this whole stage, but there's different routes you can take to get to the end.
I was just about to bring that up. Like, it's the same destination at the end, but there's there's a few paths to get there.
Right. And that's where I'm seeing now with 2D games that there is different routes to get to the end. Either you want to go underwater, you want to go take it to the sky, all this stuff. And Mario does it too. I'm not gonna say Mario hasn't. I think Mario World is a great idea for that. But Sonic, I think, to me, really pushed that a little bit further on because Sonic levels were a lot longer than Mario's.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Especially
back in that time. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Because Mario, yes, you had an Act 1, you had an Act 2, but they were short. But Sonic, like, the first act was long, so Act 2 is even longer. And they got longer as the series went.
Yes.
You could probably play a level for a good 10 minutes. And that's what the interesting part about Sonic was. When you play through the game, your timer doesn't go down. It goes forward. So, like, you have 10 minutes to beat this level. But, like, it's weird because you never play when a countdown, it kind of gets you rushed. I guess they didn't want to rush you. Mm-hmm. So they're like, here's the timer. We just want to show you how long it took you to play this level. But, you do have this timing level. One other thing I want to add is Sonic in the water. Sonic, a lot of people don't like Sonic in water levels. Mm-hmm. And the developer says that since hedgehogs can't swim, that's the reason why Sonic was like that in those water worlds. So I thought that was kind of funny. And then the items that Sonic used were a big influence too, compared to Mario. Now Mario, he had the cape, raccoon stuff, but Sonic had more armor. He had a shield, he had an electric shield, he had a fire shield, he had a bubble shield. Mm-hmm. He had his own star power. He had these little items on the levels that you hit that give you coins. It kind of they're basically their question marks to Mario.
Yes.
And I like those a lot because you got to see what they are before hitting them instead of being surprised about it.
What's in this block here?
Right. But with Sonic it was like, I can jump over that. I don't want that right now. And then checkpoints. Sonic was a big influence to me on the checkpoints where there were a ton of checkpoints.
Oh, yes.
And then there's specials in between those checkpoints where you go in there, you get a bonus, you go into a bonus level and you play mini games that either get you more coins or Chaos Emerald where you become Super Sonic. And that was a big thing.
When you have at the time, again, when Sonic was definitely Mario's rival, you had these two studios like, hey, let's see what that other guy's doing. Well, they had a check. We can do that too. Mm-hmm. And, having competition is very healthy because that forces one developer to influence another developer. And it's for the greater good for us, the gaming audience. Mm-hmm. And when you have just one company, you don't have the guy nipping at your heels. You kind of get complacent. Mm-hmm. But absolutely, the good topic on Mario and Sonic just...
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny too because people will look at those characters as rivals of like battles and stuff, but it's good to kind of just sit and talk about how they influence each other in the game industry. They both help each other out in some sort of way and end up together.
Yes.
And one day I'm hoping in the future we will see a Mario and a Sonic game day, those two together, and cool platforming kind of way, just to kind of influence to our generation. I would love to see a game of those two working together on a platforming level. And so we're almost towards our end, but we want to talk about the characters where they're at now to us, and then I really want to talk about what we want to see in the future of Mario and Sonic. So. Where is Mario at right now? So Mario's at Mario Odyssey right now.
Mario's riding high on Odyssey now.
He is still doing very well. Mario Odyssey is the game tribute to the Mario 64 leading up to now.
Absolutely.
And so Mario is not only that. This is probably the most riskiest Mario to me, only because they throw up so many bunker ideas in Mario, especially the costumes.
Yes, yeah.
Where he wears so many different costumes, and it's like, it's Mario. That's the point of right now. It's Mario.
There was definitely a lot of attention to detail and appreciation of the different cultures and venues of the stages. There's a YouTuber named Gaijin Goomba. 2 20-minute videos on the aesthetic of the Japanese level. Mm-hmm. And from the armor, the enemies, and it just looks so... There's just so much depth to that level.
Mm-hmm. And the one thing I noticed from Odyssey is that it looks like they just had a good time making that game, and it really shines Mario a lot more, especially now he has the ability to throw his hat, which that's a brand new thing,
brand new mechanic. That's like some Captain America,
right? And I think that honestly got influence off of Mario 64 for the first time. You could actually literally lose your hat.
Yes.
And so I think they look back on that and were like, let's use the hat as an idea this time.
You know, watching if you haven't played it yet, or if you're watching playthroughs on it on YouTube, there are definitely winks and nods to what built Mario up.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned earlier in this podcast the Paulina stage. There's a nod to Donkey Kong. Mm-hmm. They completely shift the perspective from the 3D world to the 2D jumping over things.
Mm-hmm. And then they have costume from almost every Mario game that he ever's been in.
It is so cool.
And then, of course, you know, he's more acrobatic than ever. This is the first time we actually see Mario swing on things.
Yes.
Mario mostly jumps on a lot of stuff. Like the wall jump was a big influence, the triple jump, the long jump, the backwards jump, the jump stomp down one, but we never seen Mario really like I never see I guess you could say 64, but we never see Mario really like hold on to the wall crawling across. We never see him swing on poles, all that kind of stuff. We see him climb up poles, and then he'll do a fun little stand on top of the pole, but we never see him really like swing on stuff. And so Mario right now is in a good place where you're excited what the next big Mario game's going to be, or whatever Mario's going to do next.
Especially after Odyssey. I mean, good grief, Nintendo.
Right. And so I think Mario's at a point right now where I think man, I'm drawing a blank of the creator of him.
Shigeru Miyamoto.
Yeah. Sorry. Man, I lose points for that. He's actually pondering where does the next Mario artwork need to go. Like he's trying to work on a new idea of his design. And so I would like to sit down and think about that. Like, what should Mario do next? Like, what is his next design should be? Because they were talking about go back to the 2D style, like, yeah. But they want to change the design artwork of that. Mm-hmm. So I have to sit there and ponder. Do you have any ideas that you like to see Mario go into?
I honestly do not.
Oh, man, is at the time it's like I'll accept whatever you come up with right now.
That is the same boat I'm in.
And then Sonic. Sorry, I didn't mean to change my tone down, but Sonic has been, and we have to be honest here. It's gone through a very rough patch. He's been on a long road. You know, he's since Adventure. It's just he hasn't found quite his footing. No pun intended.
It's sad because you know you have these two titans in the 90s trying to adapt, find their way through console generation after console generation. You've had one company that's had hiccups, Nintendo's had some hiccups, but has found its footing and just rolled with the punches. Sega definitely seems stuck back in the almost, you know, it felt complacent after the Dreamcast era. It definitely, what do we do now, kind of.
Because like even now the Sonic Force, another game, because if you notice when a new Mario game comes out, most of the time Sonic will have another game out that same year. Actually, I think so far just this generation, I think Sonic has more games out than Mario, but Sonic Forces didn't get really great reviews. They once again, I think the people at Sonic Team or just Sega alone feels like that they think if we do a lot of ideas that they think it's going to work instead of
stick.
Something's going to stick instead of like
throw it all at the wall if it sticks. Yeah,
right. Instead of looking at Sonic itself, like what can we do with Sonic that make him so cool instead of, well, let's add customization to this. Let's add more stuff to this because Sonic's cool enough. Let's just add more other stuff.
Jam everything in.
Right. Instead of like, and that's the difference between Nintendo. Like they're taking Mario and they say, what can we do something cool with Mario? And I think Sonic needs that same treatment. Like Sonic is fast, but what else can we do to make Sonic cooler with that speed? Now Sonic Mania came out and that's the phenomenal game, but only because it's a remix to the classic games that we grew up with, and that's something that's never been broken.
There's nothing wrong with that either. But
but we want Sonic to really break this bad
mold.
This mold of these bad games. And one of the things that I look at it as, and we're not going to be here for another hour talking about this, but I would love to see go back to Sonic Solo in a 3D game. Maybe Tails can tag along if he wants, but let's get back to Sonic, back to the basics, but let's make it 3D, and let's work on what makes Sonic Sonic. Make it simple, and then
go back to the basics.
Yeah, and then work around that. The whole goal of playing Sonic was, and Mario 2 was, our journey with those characters. We don't really care so much about the side characters. They were just a plus, and they were just people that are on the journey with us. But I always wanted it's just me and Sonic. It's always been that since Sonic 1. It's just you and me, man. Let's just go on this adventure together. Mario, same thing. Yep. You and me. Let's do this. And that's what Sonic needs to do. We need to go back to Sonic being on his journey. So hopefully, maybe on the next Sonic game, 3D game, they'll maybe try to find out another thing. And honestly, I said this on our other podcast. I think Nintendo needs to take Sonic and kind of show them, here's the things that you can do with Sonic. If we can come up with so many ideas with Mario and still make him awesome, we can do this with Sonic. I wish they do a collaboration or something.
Yes, a platforming collab between the two would be it. Not only nostalgic but different. Really, even for Mario too.
Yeah, but with that, we got to wrap this show up. I want to thank for everybody for sitting and listening to our Gaming Hall of Rivalries of Mario and Sonic. But those are not the only ones that we have rival. We have a list. We are going up to 15 episodes as we speak of different gaming characters that rival each other, and we can't wait to talk more about each single character. And we're definitely going to be going into research about these characters. Like the characters I have lineups, these are some games that I haven't played in a long time. I have to go back and play those so I can come back and just talk about how I felt about this. And so our next one is going to be Princess Peach and Princess Zelda, and we're going to be talking about how they rival each other out in the gaming industry and how they are relevant right now. Because last time I checked, they're both doing very well, both for each other. So we can't wait to figure out like what they have done and what their history of that. But after we finish talking, there will be a commercial at the end that will tell you more information about our show and where you can find us and whatnot. Curtis, any last words before we wrap up?
No, thank you. Thank you very much, Jeremy.
Okay, and we will catch you on the next episode. Hi, and thank you so much for taking time to listen to the show that is part of the In-Game Boss program. Remember, you can always visit us on Facebook and Twitter to get the up-to-date news about what shows are premiering and whatnot. And also, you can always listen to our shows on iTunes, Podbean, and YouTube. And remember to follow and subscribe, leave a review and a 5-star rating to keep us going. And thank you so much.